Hey everyone, Dan here. We're in the afternoon hours of Wednesday, June 23rd. We're going to do an update on SOFI, not really the price action that we're looking at right now, but on the lockup period and the fails to deliver data from the SEC. Before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button. It helps a lot. And also, I'm linking in the description below the video that I did yesterday on the lockup period ending. Today I'll offer some additional clarity, but the bulk of the information is still in that video. So refer back to that if you want to just sort of like catch the clarifying points that I'm going to provide today, and then pop over there to look at that video to get the rest of the info. But since we're here, good day so far for SOFI in my opinion. I mean, it's up just a bit. I don't know why this thing won't go away. There we go. But couple percentage gain is, nothing to sneeze at. The volume is looking good. So, this being about midday, so we should track to be about 6.5 million today, which is good since I've been, saying that we need a volume, and good buy volume coming in after the first, say, half hour or so of the market today. So I'm feeling pretty good about this at the moment. It's gaining support over this 2121 and now holding this upper trend line, which is what I plotted in last night's analysis video, to basically offer some additional support as it works its way up through these price targets. This is probably a good time to mention too, this video that I'm putting out right now does not replace the update that I'll do after the close of the market today. So I'll still do a SOFI analysis and chart update after the market's close tonight. Okay, so let's take a look at the data. So I got a couple of comments, some really helpful comments. This is why I ask folks to comment, because folks often catch things, they have really good ideas, they ask really good questions, and they offer clarification to not only other folks that watch the video and read the comments, but to myself. So a couple of folks have mentioned that this doc that we were looking through yesterday, this 30-day trading period, 30 trading day period commencing at least 30 days after the closing date. In this video yesterday, I had June 1st or June 1st or June 2nd, I can't remember at the moment, here as the closing dates. I had June 1st, but they had mentioned closing date, they think refers to the closing of IPOE, like as an entity, and then, the birthing or the starting of SOFI as a ticker symbol. So that makes sense to me. So, do your own research, look into these things for yourself so that you think that you're interpreting the terminology correctly. It's always a challenge. But if that's the case, which it does make sense to me, I wanted to update these dates. So if the closing date is May 28th, 30 days after that is Sunday, June 27th, and also double check these dates that I counted, because I'm literally just using like a calculator online and a calendar to count dates. So 20 trading days after the above, because we skipped July 5th. So I believe that that is July 26th is 20 trading days, and then 30 trading days after June 27th is August 9th. And just remember, this is because for this 33% and then additional 50% that could become unlocked, you have to first go through this 30-day after the closing date period. So 30 days after the closing date, everyone's still locked up. And then, if criteria is met, exceeding $12.50 a share for 20 trading days within a 30-day trading period, so that would be July 26th, then 33% can become unlocked within that same time frame if the share price is over 15 here, an additional 50%, so 83% in total, become unlocked. So whether you need to hit, that 20 or 30 day of trading period after the original 30 calendar days, those are our sort of like target dates. And of course, it could happen in between those dates too. But thanks for folks who commented and offered that nuggets of advice for what the closing date was referring to. I appreciate it, and I wanted to share that. And then the other thing is, I was complaining in last night's analysis video after the market closed that there's this like blackout of data at the moment. And this is primarily because usually when I'm looking at my fails to deliver data, I'm using like an aggregator service that parses through the data, aggregates it together, and then displays it in a pretty functional way. That service, when I was looking for IPOE after the ticker symbol changed, it's just returning a 404 error. So it's not providing any of the details. And so to me, I unfortunately took that to just mean, okay, this isn't going to be available until the the first half of June data comes out and then processes, and then we'll have it by, I don't know, beginning or mid of July. So it's going to be really far behind. But what somebody had pointed out is, it's just because you're getting this 404 error, this data is still available for IPOE. So you could still see the 2 weeks leading up to the merger dates or the IPOE closing date that we just talked about. You could still see the fails to deliver, which would then be influencing, that would be having to be reconciled at this point as SOFI. And I came to the SEC site as opposed to using a third-party site. And yes, here it is. So this is fails to deliver. And these are the dates that we're looking at. And this includes these later dates here. You see May 27th, 2021, which is, I guess, just a day before IPOE's closing date. And so the most interesting thing here, which is also what the commenter had pointed out, is several million in the days leading up to the merger. So here's your $1 million your million marker, and if we follow that over, we see this point, this point, this point, this point, and this point, all above $1 million. 3 others hovering just under $1 million, and then 2 that are over 750,000. So from May 9th to May 20th, every day was over 750,000 failed to deliver, and 2, 3, 4, 5 of those dates were over $1 million. And so the commenter was saying it's about 6 million in total. I actually didn't add these up, but you can take a look for yourself. Just look for SEC fails to deliver IPOE, should give you this chart. But pretty interesting, because fails to deliver, yes, there can be legitimate reasons why when you buy a share of a stock. Let me just back up for a sec if you're unfamiliar with this concept. So there's 2 settlement dates, 2 trading days in which the transaction settles. So you pay for a share that you think you receive immediately, but what's really happening in the background is your money goes to the person or the entity that is selling you those shares, and then those shares are actually reaching your brokerage after the fact. And so that's what you're waiting for the delivery of. You're waiting for the delivery of the shares that you've already paid for. And so what we're seeing here is this means that there was several million shares that people purchased just before the merger dates, just before the close of IPOE. There were several million shares that were paid for and purchased that then those people never received them. So often then what will happen is those shares, if that isn't resolved, or until that's resolved, those shares truly exist with that person as not actually the share of the stock, but an IOU that, hey, this person paid for this thing, but we can't locate it to give them the actual share. So we're going to still say this represents a share, but we can't locate it in order to provide it to that person yet. And so something that this can be a symptom of is naked short selling, because when you buy a share that somebody is selling to you short, unbeknownst to you, if they don't actually have a share on loan to them in order to sell to you, then there's no way for them to deliver it because it doesn't exist. And so while there are legitimate reasons why shares can be failed to deliver, and many of them are reconciled over a period of time, this is just a symptom of something that's hard to figure out whether or not it's going on, the naked short selling. The big danger here is that folks are buying a bunch of shares that then just exist as IOUs, and they get passed through the marketplace, around and around the marketplace as IOUs, never reconciled as a share. Or the other possibility is, there's been a lot of talk about, and I'll do a video of this in the future, the T plus 35 settlement dates and the T plus 21 settlement dates, and like the requirements that exist on brokers, broker-dealers, institutions in order to make good on these fails to deliver no matter what, like doing whatever they have to do to make that happen. If that were the case, then that's where the additional opportunity for a weird type of short squeeze comes into play, because it's actually folks trying to just purchase shares on the open market or in blocks potentially, and basically use those as the delivery, because there's nothing else to locate, because there was never anything lent to them. Hopefully that makes sense, but it's just something that I wanted to look at to see sort of what the possibilities here are. Obviously, the destructive issue that causes with the share price is that there's this big influx of supply. Like, it appears that there are many, many more shares than there actually are. And as we know from economics, oversupply results in lower prices, right? So it appears as though the demand is much lower than the supply, because there's all the actual shares of the stock, but then there's also all of these IOUs. But it appears as though all of those IOUs are also like existing shares in the marketplace, but it's not the case. So it has this disproportionate impact where it looks like the supply is far outweighing or outpacing the demand, and then the price drops because of that. So hopefully that makes sense, but definitely interesting that, there were not really big spikes here for all of IPOE's existence. Then all of a sudden, just before the merger dates, look at how she ran up. It's quite crazy. But it'll be interesting to see how this plays out in the weeks ahead as we get additional data. Again, they release this twice a month, the first half of the month and then the second half of the month, but it doesn't come as quickly as you want. It takes several weeks for it to come out. So by the time you get it, it's several weeks old, but it's the information that we have to go on. So, all right, well, I appreciate you watching, and I hope that these clarifications helped. I really appreciate the commenters who dropped notes on these things. It helps a ton, and thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, that'll do it for this one. I will see you all in the next video.